participants? Hello, am I audible to all the participants?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, all and everyone. We are going to begin a session 2 of the day 4, that is about National Education Policy 2020. Okay, I heartily welcome Dr. Ravindra Kumar sir, Honorable Advisor and former Director AICT on the behalf of Computer Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic Gandhinagar. Unfortunately, our head of the department, Manisha P. Mehta ma'am, is unavailable here due to medical reason. So she conveyed the best wishes and her warm welcome to the Dr. Ravindra Kumar Soni sir. Okay, so it is a matter of pleasure and honor to invite Dr. Ravindra Kumar Soni sir. Presently, he is working as an advisor AICT and heading e-governance cell of AICT headquarters New Delhi, handling all the software application and automation at AICT and also handling AICT activities of North-West regions, Chandigarh. Before it, he was a founder and director of AICT Training and Learning Academy at AICT headquarters, and in the year 2021 and 2022, the activities of Atal Academy becomes a world record of training more than 1 lakh people and 1,000 programs under the Atal Online Faculty Development Programs in the Book of World Record, London. And I'm glad to announce that one of those programs was organized by Computer Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic Gandhinagar. Dr. Ravindra Kumar Soni sir did PhD in Management, Master of Business Administration, Postgraduate Diploma in International Business Management, also MPhil in Physics and MSc in Physics with a specialization in Telecommunication. He is a Master Trainer of prestigious UKI ERI Technical Leadership Program under the UK India Education Research Initiative. And he also awarded by Vice President of India for ERP of IGNOU. So it is a really great opportunity today to learn about National Education Policy 2020 from such a dignitary. So without wasting precious moment, may I request Dr. Ravindra Kumar Soni sir to enlighten National Education Policy 2020. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for introducing me over here. First of all, I'm thankful to the Government Polytechnic Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and its principal, who invited me, and I'm here. I feel honored. I'm delighted to see you all. Thankful to the coordinator, Mrs. Manisha P. Mehta, who is the head of department, and as you mentioned that no, she's not here because of the health reason. We understand that this health reasons are prevailing across the country. So my address to the chief patron, the principal, the coordinator, head of department, and the co-coordinator, Mrs. Meeta, and all organizing team, the faculty of the Government Polytechnic Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and all participants attending over here. Once more, thank you all, and very good afternoon to you all. As I understand, this is ISTE sponsored. Basically, AICT fund to ISTE, and ISTE sponsor some of the faculty development program. And this may be one of the FDP, which is 6 days, as I came to know. This is the 4th day. And perhaps one of the session may be on these different areas. Though this national education policy is not like the part of this one. It's a part of this, but is not aligned with the title, that application development using Flutter. So that's a core the computing tool, in fact. But this particular national education policy is very much important for everyone, for me, for you, and all stakeholders, in fact. So when I came to know that you are inviting me for delivering my experience or sharing my experience with you all on this NEP, I immediately agreed upon and requested to put this session on Saturday, because Saturday happens to be comparatively less work for us. so I will not be much disturbed, in fact. So weekdays from Monday to Friday, it's a little difficult to take up 1.5 hour, 2 hours, something for that. So for me, that is comfortable. I'll take up the PPT. I'll present the PPT. I'll discuss with you. Number of persons attending over here is around 40, 39 attendees I'm able to see, and few organizers are there, including me, 5 are there. So around 45 people are here on this FDP. It's a good number, in fact. However, in Atal Academy FDP, Atal Academy Initiative FDP, the number are generally very high. Sometimes 100, sometimes more than 100, maybe 200. But of course, effectiveness is the questionable in online. But it's very comfortable because those who are attending, they are not supposed to travel. They have to be comfortable in their residence, their offices, and even those who are delivering the sessions, they are also comfortable. They don't need no need to travel. So once more, thank you all joining over here. I'm from Chandigarh. I'm in Chandigarh today. I'm looking after Chandigarh regional office also. So a few days I'm in Chandigarh in a week. I mean maybe 2-3 days, and then rest of the days I'm in Delhi. So I'm delivering this from Chandigarh. The weather here is very cool, in fact. But I know Gandhinagar maybe a little warm. Maybe temperature maybe 20. I feel like exactly I don't know. I had been a part of Gujarat earlier. I worked in Gujarat for 5 years, in fact, long 5 years. And that time I remember I used to speak even Gujarati. So I'll start this session with one Gujarati sentence. Kem cho?
Majama.
Majama, sir.
Majama.
Thank you so much. I'll share the PPT and then I'll just continue it.
Excuse me, sir. Our in-house expert is also with us now, Mr. Vivek, sir.
You're talking about expert in application, this Flutter application, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So please share the detail. Later on, I like to interact with them. Not today, maybe later on, maybe on mail or phone. Just give me their phone number and email IDs. So we'll interact with them. Actually, I look after e-governance of AICTE and tools application we are developing under different platforms, frameworks, but not Flutter. We don't use Flutter. So in future, we may use this also. That's what my intention is. So I'll just continue. I'll just share one PPT and then I'll walk through this all various feature of National Education Policy 2020. Is this PPT visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
yes, sir.
Some of the slides I'll skip because may not be much important for you. But some of the slides I'll discuss with you. And I request everyone, because we must know national education policy in the coming years, coming decade, this is going to prevail. And therefore, since we are in academic, and therefore we must know what is this NEP actually. So if you have any doubt regarding whatever I'm going to discuss here and any provision of NEP, I'll be happy to respond to your query. So my humble request, my humble submission to everyone, just give me 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and I hope you'll come to know what NEP exactly is. So that will be a kind of takeaway for you for this session. Here in this slide, various milestone is listed. In fact, I just mentioned the last one. This particular national education policy was crafted by a committee chaired by Dr. K. Kasturirangan, and that's why we call it as that K. Kasturirangan committee report. That was approved by cabinet, and now here we all are trying to implement it. Later or sooner, one bill will also come, and after the parliament passes the bill, this will be implemented as such. So far, the bill has not been introduced in parliament, but after implementation, I hope it will be mandatory to everyone. So far, it is voluntary kind of things, or it is being implemented by different regulatory bodies, by different educational institutions, in fact, as per their capacity, as per their mandate. This particular national education policy was welcomed by across the country, across the world, and the reason was it was crafted after a lot of deliberation, in fact. And here some volume of deliberation is mentioned. I'll not touch any of these deliberations. A lot of meetings, workshop happened, and then finally it was crafted. Initially, it was 400-page document. Now it is only 66-page document. So I hope you all are comfortable with English.
Yes, sir.
So deliberately, I'm putting some question in between just to break the monotony, because just to know that some people are attentive in here, in fact. The first, the salient feature of this policy, advocating that GER, the gross enrollment ratio, has to increase by 50% by 2035. I mean, 14-year, 15-year down the line, the GER has to increase to 50%. And then the very important, the feature. Nowadays, many of the students are suffering like anything. Many of the parents are suffering like anything, and even education institutions are also suffering because of the different policies in place nowadays. This particular national education policy is telling that holistic and multidisciplinary education, flexibility of subjects. I like to discuss this particular provision in detail because this is very important. What is happening nowadays? Like in this Polytechnic College, students might be coming for the diploma in computer science, diploma in mechanical, diploma in civil. Someone has come for a diploma in mechanical. What does that mean? He will be learning mechanical, right? And then he may be deployed. He may be employed in some relevant industry. Now, suppose a student which has studied diploma in mechanical and employed in some industry where vehicle is being produced. Suppose vehicle industry someone is appointed. So can anyone tell whether this nowadays, I mean today's vehicle, today's car is a mechanical device or not? Can anyone tell? Is it a mechanical device? So yes. We'll have a two-way discussion. We'll have a two-way discussion. So it will be really a little interesting. Will not be boring for you. Yeah.
It is, sir.
It's a you're telling it's a mechanical device. Now I'm putting another question. Whether this car is electronic device? Is that car nowadays, today's car is electronic device?
Sir, it's a sort of an automation. It's an automobile, but it is having a lot of automation, lot of electronics panels within that mechanical body. So it's a hybrid. We cannot segregate that it's only mechanical or it's only electronics. It's a combo.
It's a combo.
And when we introduce EV, then there is a third dimension also.
So there are many dimensions. It's a electrical device, it's an electronic device, it's a software-based device, and now it is an AI device also, right? It's a artificial intelligence based inputs are also there in those devices. So it's not mechanical. Earlier, we used to say that the device may be mechanical. Earlier mechanical and electrical maybe, but now it's a many dimensions are there. So devices, nature of devices are changing. So how can only diploma mechanical will be able to handle this particular device? It will be almost difficult. One has to study multidimensional. In fact, I mean, different sort of education has to be understood by the employee. And this is only technical subjects I'm talking about. It needs design. The vehicle needs design. The design has to be socially accepted. So there is a psychological angle also. So there is a lot of liberal art involved in that, though it's not tangible. In fact, at that time I should say, not we may not be able to imagine, but yes, it is there. It should be acceptable by the society. So therefore, no device is a kind of related with only one set of education. So there has to be a multidisciplinary educations. So I just gave one example why this has been thought of in this NEP. So that's why the NEP thought of NEP already advocating. It has to be holistic and multidisciplinary education. Cannot be only technical education, cannot be medical education, cannot be legal education, or cannot be art education. If you see the medical devices, the medical devices are not only medical devices. They are highly software-based device, highly electronic devices, in fact. And we might have gone across. There's a moreover in almost all state-of-art medical devices, software is inbuilt in that, or software is being used for all kind of those devices. So therefore, even in medical education, a lot of technical education involved. Many technical education is involved. So therefore, it has to be a multidisciplinary, and that is the idea of this NEP. This main provision: students should be given flexibility of subject. Someone has taken admission in diploma in mechanical should have a freedom to take some courses, some programs from other education, maybe even medical also, maybe even legal also, maybe even liberal art, or maybe design. So of their choice, maybe music, maybe dance. So this kind of flexibility has to be there, and I think it's a boon for the students. Our students are waiting for long for this kind of education, in fact. And now it has been put in place, and I hope after this the parliament passes the bill, this kind of things will exist in this country. People, students will be able to choose the subjects of their own choice. I'll give a breathing space here. I'll stop here, and I'm just requesting any one of you, if you have any question, any doubt, or any kind of query, please put across.
Excuse me, sir, I do have a question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, for example, if I'm pursuing my master's degree, okay, and at the same time I want to pursue a postgraduate diploma degree, so is that possible as per NEP?
See, exact here, if I talk about the flexibility of subjects, so okay, some subjects may definitely be taken, may be taken by any of the student. But if you're talking about two degree simultaneously, and both are suppose regular degree, so there may be a time constraints, isn't? How can one attend classes simultaneously in two classrooms? So may not be feasible. So whatever the feasible is, like one can go for the online learning, maybe distance learning, maybe online learning. That can definitely be done. Different subjects will definitely be a, freedom for students.
Yeah, sure. That's what I has been thinking about. That one offline postgraduate degree, and along with one postgraduate diploma, okay, online. So is it?
I think it is still existing. It is still allowed. If you if you refer IGNOU courses, which is ODL, so you can go with the ODL program and online program, and then one regular program. So it is still allowed, but in future, maybe 1 year down the line, it will be a regular feature for the students. In fact, it will be widely accepted across the country.
Thank you very much.
Now the another main important feature is a multiple entry, multiple exit. What is happening nowadays scenario is someone enters into graduation. Suppose take BTech first year. He can exit only after 4 years after taking the BTech degree, or if leaving in between will not get anything. He will be just higher secondary passed. It will not be like BTech second year pass or BTech first year pass. this we never call it. In fact, we only say higher secondary pass or BTech pass kind of things. So here the scenario is someone is suppose studying BTech, and after studying 2 years, one has got the job, and the job he has got which he was intending to get after graduation. Now he is in dilemma. He or she is in dilemma whether he or she should quit that BTech degree or should quit that job. Ultimately, what is happening? The student is aiming for a job and has got the job even before he completed the graduation degree. So therefore, this has been thought of. Let's have a multiple entry. One can enter in the BTech first year, BTech second year, depending on the course he has already studied, and then maybe exit after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Of course, there is exit after 4 year. So there may be multiple exit. In fact, someone wants to leave the graduation program after 2 years. Yes, allowed. Take 2 year of passed out of certificate, and suppose wants he or she wants to come back after 5 years, 10 years to complete the degree. He or she will be welcomed. In fact, so this kind of flexibility will be given to students, and I think this will be the wonderful provision for NEP. I mean, under NEP for the students, one can exit in between, and one can entry in between. So multiple entry and multiple exit soon will be a reality in Indian education scenario, and all students and even institution will be benefit out of that. This is a major this provision of this NEP is this one, the flexibility in subject, flexibility in duration. Duration means entry and exit, and even duration also. It will not be 4 year. Of course, minimum will be 4 year, may complete in 8 year, 10 years, something, whenever as wish and will, depending on the situations. One can complete this graduation or post graduation. This kind of scenario will be there. So flexibility in subject, flexibility in entry, exit, and duration. And also, which is not mentioned over here, flexibility of institutions. One student has completed few programs, few courses, or few year, you can say 1 year or 2 year in one organization, and suppose moved out because of certain reasons, maybe posting of the parents, or maybe his own suppose displaced somewhere and gone somewhere else, and then also he or she can complete the rest of the program, rest of the courses, rest of the year in other educational institutions. So flexibility in terms of subject, entry, exit, duration, and institutions. So this kind of flexibility will be soon reality after the this NEP bill is passed. And even right now, the provisions are being implemented by UGC and AICT and some other regulatory bodies, even universities also. So whatever provision can be implemented, this is being implemented here. So again, I'll give you the breathing space here, and I'll stop for a few seconds. And if you have any kind of queries, cross queries, welcome. And then I'll go ahead with some other provisions.
Yes, sir. Hello, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, very much audible.
So I have a question like, as in NEP 2020, there is a flexibility of subjects. So is there any fixed number of core subjects which cannot be considered as a flexible subjects, or number of electives? How many number of electives will be there? I mean,
yes, there will be a certain number of credits which has to be taken in the core subjects, core area where the admission has been taken place. Suppose someone has taken BTech in computer, so certain number of credits has to be taken in the computer LID computer areas, and rest of the credits. Take an example. Suppose 160 credits are there in graduation. So maybe 80 or 100. This regulation will come up very soon. Maybe 80 or 100 credit has to be taken in this computer science, and rest of maybe 60 or 80 credit may be taken in some LID areas. So this kind of framework will be there. It will be very clear after the regulation comes out.
thank you, sir.
So any other queries regarding this? the flexibility, the great flexibility, which will be the reality soon given by NEP. I think no more queries, so I'll just carry on. So one, as I mentioned, that the flexibility will be the major takeaway with this NEP. Some more features I'll discuss over here. And the UG program has to be 3 or 4 years. The PG program may be for 1 or 2 years, depending on the subjects. And then there may be integrated 5-year bachelor's master's degree. Still, it is existing. And another important point is MPhil to be discontinued. That's very important. Nowadays, MPhil is going on somewhere, but MPhil will be discontinued after this NEP implementation. This might have been discontinued also by now. Another major feature, which is going to be a reality after this implementation of NEP, or even regulation has already come out from by UGC, the credit transfer and academic bank of credit. Everyone must understand what is this credit transfer and what is this ABC, academic bank of credit. See, every students will get one kind of academic bank account. Like bank account nowadays we are having, we can keep on depositing money, and whenever we feel we can withdraw the money. So here also similarly, academic bank of credit will be there, academic bank account will be there. Every students, those who are entering in the education system, they will be given one academic account, academic bank account. One example I'll just take up here for the graduation itself, because we all are in that academic world, we understand better. Suppose in graduation 160 credits are there. It means one student has to clear 160 credit. So what will happen? One account will be given to the student. In that academic account, academic bank account, he will keep on depositing the credit. I mean, the number of programs he cleared, the number of courses he cleared, he'll keep on depositing that credits. And as soon as he clear 160 credits, he'll get the graduation degree. Now here, during this 160 credit earning, he can enjoy a lot of flexibility. I mean, he can earn the credit, he or she can earn the credit by the same subjects, plus allied subjects, plus through multiple exit and entry, through different mode, face-to-face education, online education, or ODL, or different institutions. So with all this flexibility, he or she will be able to earn the credit, keep on depositing in that academic bank of account, and as soon as he clears 160, he'll get that, he or she will get that the graduation degree. So this kind of things will be there. Account will be linked with every students, and they will operate their credit. Once the graduation degree is taken by the students, 160 credit will be consumed from that one. Means it is withdrawn kind of things. Otherwise, that that much credit will remain in the academic bank, academic account, and those credit can be used anytime depending on the regulation framework. So this will be the major takeaway by the students, in fact, and this has already been notified by UGC. This will also be soon a reality here in the country. So major reform is going to be taken place after implementation of this NEP, in fact. So in this one slide only, I discuss what are the major reform going to happen in academic world actually. So again, I'll give some breathing space here regarding this credit transfer. See, credit transfer will be very easy now. Someone has earned some credit from one university and then earned from another university some credit. That credit may be deposited in that account. So even the credit transfer may not require this credit will keep on will be depositing in that account, and then the total credit can be used later on for earning graduation degree or post-graduation degree. This kind of things will be there. Credit transfer will be much easier, very, very easy after implementation of this academic bank of credit. So again, I'll give you a little breathing space to you. If you have any queries regarding this, I'll take up that one and then I'll go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, as you see that credit transfer will be there in academic bank of credits. Will it be universal for the India?
It will be for across the country. One can earn credit from northeast Meghalaya, then from Gujarat and the south or north or central India, yeah, anywhere. So this will be universal. One can earn credit from any of the institution, from any of the stream, rather technical education, medical education, or any of the education, depending on the flexibility given. I mean, the degree of flexibility given to the students, and in duration also, flexibility of duration also. So one can earn the credit and keep on depositing and then can use later on. It will be.
Will there be any possibilities of transferring credits at abroad even?
That's good. Vasudev Kutumbakam kind of things, right? So every country has its own education system. We will have this education system. So far not known. If other countries join hands with us, that they will allow to transfer the credit, of course there may be possibility. Immediately may not be possible, but of course in future there is a real hope that it can definitely be done. But of course we need to talk to the those countries, and where the similar kind of education is there, they may allow that. So good point. In fact, if anyone wants to have any kind of another discussion, it will be really interesting to others also, rather than listening me only continuously for 1.5 hours.
Excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yeah, very much audible. Please carry on.
Sir, is there any other country who is implemented this kind of system and having their students or their youth are get benefit from it? Is there any example?
See, European countries having this kind of system, the multiple flexibility of subjects is still existing in the Europe and US. One person is even graduation in art can take technical education later on, or one has studied higher secondary with liberal art and can take up a technical education or medical education or something different, or even someone is graduation in technical education can take up dance or something different kind of education. So this kind of things are already existing in some part of the world. Not all the provisions, but some provisions are being exercised by one country and some provisions are being exercised by some other countries. This kind of situation is already there. It's a kind of best practices of all the countries have been taken place in putting this NEP.
Yeah, but sir, the multiple entry or multiple exit is there in other country, which you said.
See, yes, it is there. Multiple exit and entry, even some part of kind of things like even existing in the India, but not fully. If I talk about the ODL, open distance learning, it is not fixed like 3-year graduation will be there. 3-year graduation is there. There's a minimum 1, but one can complete this graduation in 8 years, kind of things. So I mean, one can study 1 year and then some gap may be there, then can complete some other. So it's a kind of multiple entry and multiple exit. No, that not exactly that one. I do agree with that.
Yes,
but some flexibility is still being exercised. It's not like all of a sudden this kind of things are there. Yes, it is already practiced and experimented somewhere, and it has some benefit, and that's why this has been now advocated by this NEP.
Yes, sir. And sir, as you told that a student can change the college after 1 year, suppose he parents will move, he can easily transfer to another college. So in that case means in our current system there is a different ranking. Means will it becomes administration more complicated for colleges, that the entrance exam and all that, how it will be managed? Means is there anything is derived in this policy?
See, minute regulation has to come up. It will be a kind of act first and then minute regulation, because just to implement all the provisions, a very minute detail has to be worked out with through regulation, and then later on regulation has to be passed out, and then everything will be moving around that regulation, in fact. So yes, there may be challenges, but once the objective is set, these challenges may, because technology is also helping now. Now it is very easy to track the students, I'll tell you. Once academic bank of credit is given to one student, and then someone has studying all kind of credit, where he has studied, how much he has studied, what he has studied, that will be the record in that his account. And then he's moving somewhere else. So of course there will be some administrative issues, because he might have paid the fee in the previous colleges, then another institution will go, the fee will be there, then he cannot move in between or something. This kind of things may be there. So some flexibility with some kind of you can say care, this will move. But of course the goal is set here, and this is going to be a reality. Kind of things will happen.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll just continue a few more provisions here. There are thought in that one, in that NEP.
Excuse me.
Research
Excuse me, sir.
intensive. Yeah, please.
Sir, can we accumulate the online and offline courses credits?
Yes, it is there. Even still today also, if you see the UGC regulation, UGC has allowed 40% of online education. The credit can be earned. What does that mean? Still it is existing, I'll tell you. The last year, this kind of regulation has already come out from UGC and it is implemented. Student can earn 60% credit through face-to-face and 40% credit through online. Are you aware this is there? Any one of you are aware of that? This has already been allowed by the country?
No, sir.
Yeah, it is allowed. The UGC has already came out with one regulation. Earlier it was 20%. 20% courses can be taken from Swayam MOOCs. Swayam, are you aware or not? Swayam.
Yes, sir. We are aware of that, but that is particularly more taken up in 4-year degree courses. Yeah, I agree. It is for the graduation degree, in fact, not implemented from first. First is for graduation. But now 40% is allowed. What does that mean? Only 60% credits are to be taken from face-to-face, and 40% one can earn from online. So that is already there. It has already been notified now. So now you can, this kind of things will be there in future also. There may be a broad notification, broad regulation that how many percentage from online, how many percentage offline, how many percent from allied subject, how many percentage from the core subjects. This kind of things will be there, and students or that software, Academic Bank of Credit software may have all kind of validation, and they that software may allow to put those credits accordingly, in fact. But of course, online education has to be part of offline education. In fact, it should be supplemented. In fact. It will be supplementing.
And sir, what are the reforms for the PhD?
See, for PhD, MPhil will not be compulsory. MPhil will not be desirable. This one MPhil will be discontinued. So far, detailed reform is not mentioned here in this one. But the next, if you see that there will be a research intensive institutions, in fact, and there will be teaching intensive universities, and there may be autonomous degree granting colleges. So wherever there is a research intensive universities, the more rigorous research may be there in those universities, in fact. Regarding this PhD regulation or PhD, I think there is not much reform in that way. But of course, minute detail may be there when the regulation comes out. So far, still we have to wait some more days. In fact, let this bill be implemented and then minute detail be worked out through regulations. Now, another last point I'll take up with this slide, the model multidisciplinary education and research universities, MERU, has to come up. And the target is that every district should have this kind of model multidisciplinary education and research universities. In future, there may not be a technical universities like we're having now technical universities in Gujarat, right? Every state has one technical university. Some states have more than one technical universities, in fact. So there will not be a technical university. There will be a multidisciplinary universities. They have to allow for other courses also. And even those who are non-technical universities we talk about, they will also be able to offer the technical programs. So there will be a multidisciplinary universities. So that is thought of, and it is already being implemented. In fact, it has been told to all the university to become multidisciplinary. I'll just continue the major reforms which is advocated through this NEP. The graded autonomy, this NEP is telling academic, administrative, and financial. And this NEP is telling the next 15 years phasing out of affiliation system. Right now, what is the education system here? One is university is affiliating 100 colleges, 200 colleges, 50 colleges. And this NEP is telling in the due course in 15 years, this affiliation system has to be phased out, and they should be, the colleges and institutions should be autonomous. They should take up independent function like academic, administrative, and financial functions. So this kind of advocacy is there. So when these institutions are autonomous, still some of the institutions are autonomous, in fact, but not all. This NEP is telling in 15 years all has to be autonomous. That is what advocacy is. And when they are autonomous, they have to function through board of governors. So that is also worked out what kind of board of governors has to be there. Through board of governors, they will be executing their functions. And one major reform which is going to happen, there has to be a single regulator for higher education. And once this single regulator comes into place, the UGC, AICTE, NBA, NAC, NCTE, all these now organizations will be differently function. They will be renamed, they will be reshaped, they will be revamped, they will have a different function, in fact. So even where I'm sitting here, employed in AICTE, it will be a different body after the single regulator comes into existence. I'll talk detail about this single regulator. There is one slide we have prepared and we'll discuss in detail what kind of structure has to be, what kind of structure will be. I mean, what kind of structure has been thought of through this NEP for this single regulator, and what will be the fate of UGC, AICTE, NCTE, NBA, NAC. That also I'll discuss in one slide. The NEP is also telling that there has to be a transparent approval system, and that to the online self-disclosure based transparent system. There should not be any inspection. There should not be any physical inspection. There should be only online kind of approval system. AICTE has already adopted it. Now AICTE, we are 100% online for approval. We don't go for inspection. We don't go for visit. Visits have been dispensed with in AICTE, and in history of the AICTE in future, there will not be any physical visits, only online visit. So that we have already implemented, in fact, across the country, AICTE implemented, and I can say loudly that the online self-disclosure based transparency system has already been implemented by AICTE, and other regulatory bodies are, in discussion with the AICTE to implement the same in their system. I'll just take up a few more points here. In future, there will not be any difference between the private and the government academic institutions. There will be a common norms for public and private higher education institutions, and the fee will also be worked out with the broad regulatory framework. I'll not take up much with this slides. Already taken up almost all the points from this slides and take up another points. But again, just to give a breathing space to you, I'll stopping here for a few seconds and then I'll take up the new slides here. Anyone wants to have any different kind of any kind of discussion here? Welcome, please.
Sir,
Yeah.
is there any exam-related reforms? I mean, any weightage given to practical aspect or something like that, sir?
A good question. In fact, its answer is already there in these slides. It has been educated in big way. Exam reforms is one provision, one agenda through this NEP. In fact, it is there. So in some slides it is there. I'll just mention there. I'll let you know that what kind of exam reforms have been thought of through this NEP. It is there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I'll just continue here. Few more major reforms in higher education. School education is also there, but I'll touch major school education reform, but higher education in detail. Internationalization of education. That is one again major takeaway. The students from India may go to any part of the world, may take up the education, and same time, the students from across the world can come in India and can take up the education. In fact, so this kind of things are there. Even in AICT also, we are developing one digital platform through which students from across the world can come through that digital platform and can study in India. So even in AICT, and especially me, in fact, because I'm handling this e-governance of AICTE, we are developing that digital platform for those students, those who are coming from foreign to India for study. In fact, so this kind of things has been thought of, and we are trying to implement that one. Again, integration of vocational, teacher, and professional education is one another reform in this NEP. Standalone higher education, as already mentioned there, multidisciplinary and standalone. If standalone means there will not be any affiliation. There has to be autonomous standalone institutions. And the second last, I just wanted to mention over here, National Educational Technology Forum, NETF. So NETF is going to be a reality. And once this National Education Technology Forum comes into existence, all kind of technology, I mean, there are different regulatory body, those who are using their own softwares, different technologies they are using. After this NETF, at least there will be integration of all those systems, and there will be a broad framework across the country. Say it is a academic bank of credit, or even faculty training, or even faculty APIs, or some other things, whatever, like even results, administration, all the things has to be synced with this NETF. So this kind of major thought process have been given in this NEP, that National Educational Technology Forum has to be put in place, and that will provide all kind of consultancy, help, support in development of those technologies. And the last one, MHRD to be renamed as Ministry of Education. As you know that it is already done. Now it is not MHRD, it is a Ministry of Education. If you go to the website, you'll see it is Ministry of Education now. So just continuing here, little faster, in fact. Some I'll take up and some I'll just speed up here. Languages have been given much priority in that. And even early child education, it is advocated that it has to be in Indian language, local language, or mother tongue, in fact. So this kind of thought process have been put because the child growth during the early age In fact, the mother tongue is very effective, and their learning is more faster in mother tongue. And that's why it is thought of that the early education has to be in mother tongue, and therefore the research on language, the vocabulary of Indian languages, the language faculty, all these kind of things have been thought of to promote the faster learning, in fact. Already mentioned earlier, the use of technology has been advocated through this NEP, educational planning, teaching, learning, assessment, administration, management, and as already mentioned that in regulation, self-disclosure, minimum human interface. This is very important. One particular word is used by this NEP, light but tight regulation. See, light but tight regulation. So there has to be a light regulation. I mean, trust-based regulation. If any educational institution is telling that they have this kind of facility, the government is going to believe on that, but they have to disclose on their website. And if someone says that whatever it discloses is not correct, and there is a kind of cheating has been done by the institutions, so there has to be a light but tight regulation. This particular word is used in this NEP, light but tight, in fact, and therefore it will come in the grievance, and then the very stringent punishment or penalty provisions has to be there for those institutions, those who are breaching the trust, in fact. So this will be a kind of trust-based approval system. I'll just continue. I'll skip this one. The use of technology has been advocated in a big way by this NEP. Before I go to the major reform in school education, I'll give again a little bit breathing space to you. Any discussion wants, because मैं काफी देर से बोल रहा हूँ, and I don't know whether how many of you are listening. So just give you a little bit space here. If you want any discussion here, please welcome. So I just saw that there are many participants now. Initially it was 39, now 48 faculties are there. I mean, attendees are there, almost touching 50. Seems no more discussion required. Some reforms I'll take up. 1 hour is already passed, and a few more minutes. In fact, I have to take up. And the major reforms in school educations, I'll just let you know a little bit. So the reform which is visible over here, and that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Now base system will be there. Just wanted to explain this one, may not be much understood to you. 5-year means it is like 3 plus 2. 3 means before primary, and then plus 2 means presently class 1 and class 2. So that is 5, 3 plus 2, and then plus 3. Plus 3 means again class 3, class 4, and class 5. So if I talk about 5 plus 3, it means up to class 5. So now it is reversed. So early education has to be 5 years. Jisko now we are telling like before primary, we put students on in 3 year, in fact, no, pre-nursery, then nursery, KG, LKG, UKG. These 3 years are there, and then the students goes into first and then second. So that is 5 years actually. So 5 plus 3 plus 3. If again add 3, so it will be 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that will be 5 plus 3 plus 3, and then 4 is again 9, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So this kind of structure have been thought of, and this is being told that foundational education has to be 5 years, 3 + 2, and then up to age 8, and then preparatory, it has to be 3 years, and then middle, that again 3 years, and then secondary, the 4 year. So this total, it comes out to around 15 years now. So that is a education system has been thought of in school educations. I'll just quit. I mean, a little bit speedily I'll take up, because I understand those who are attending, they might be getting bored. It's a one-way communication. In fact, that's why I'll just speed up here. The advocacy through NEP has been for education of gifted children, then gender inclusion fund, and then reduction of curriculum. Why reduction of curriculum? Because if curriculum is reduced, at least students will be able to take core concept, that is one, and they will be able to take some extracurricular activities like sports and some other extracurricular activities, their hobbies also they can practice. The last point, if you're able to see it, no rigid separation between art, science, extracurricular activities, vocational education, and academic streams. So this has to be again fluid-like situations. One can take up art, science, extracurricular, and all those for all those activities, the credit will be given to the students. So this will be really very helpful to students. They will be able to practice their hobbies, in fact, once it is implemented. Just stopping here, I just stopped the presentation. I'll take up the key major takeaway with NEP, maybe 5 minutes, and then I request you to just put questions and queries and discuss on that. Let me give you the major takeaway. I'll not discuss any more on this. It's a kind of now recap. In fact, in this NEP, first I'll take up the major takeaway in higher education. Separation of functions of the government. That is one major takeaway. That is the regulation, accreditation, funding, academic standard, maybe done by this independent bodies. Maybe this new higher education body, National Higher Education Regulatory Council. To be a sole regulator, as I mentioned, just a minute. I'll just put this slide on this. Yeah. So I was just mentioning in starting that there will be one regulatory body, the mega regulatory body, which we call it as HECI, Higher Education Council of India. So this will be National Higher Education Regulatory Council, one sole regulator for higher education. And out of this one sole regulator, there will be 4 bodies, in fact, under this body. One has to be a regulatory council. I mean, National Education Regulatory Council. Then one has to be a grant council. If you see this D point, Higher Education Grant Council to carry out the funding. So under this one regulatory council, one higher education regulator, 4 bodies has to be there. One will be the grant council, one will be the regulatory council, one will be the accrediting council, and another will be general education council. So these 4 council has to be there under this one regulatory body. So there will be a 4 pillar kind of things, and then one regulatory body has to be will be there on the top. So this kind of structure have been proposed through this NEP, and after passing this bill, this will be reality. Do you have any query regarding the functioning of these bodies? I mentioned here the 5 bodies I mentioned actually. One national higher, one umbrella body, which we call as HECI, that is Higher Education Council of India, and then 4 different bodies. So 5 bodies will be there actually. So in these this particular NEP, this kind of structure have been thought of, and this structure going to be a reality very soon after passing this bill. I'll stop here only. I'll not take much time because I know that you, as I already mentioned, I want that queries from your side. So I'll stop here only. There are many provisions here, but I'll not discussing it here. I'll share this PPT video. Or no, the opening forum for you to put queries and some questions. Seems everyone has gone into some meditation kind of things.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
So I just want to understand that you said in one of the slides that there won't be any difference between public and private universities.
Yeah.
So I mean, what sort of difference would not be there?
See, whatever regulations, rules are there, this has to be implemented across the educational bodies. Same kind of rule for private institutions, same kind of rule for government organizations. That has to be a reality in fact. Maybe faculty norms.
But I think it is in place, no, sir?
It is already in place. Might not be implemented in total. Might not be implemented in as such. But this has been advocated again, and maybe forcefully implemented that for all educational bodies and private bodies has to follow the same rule. Still, it is existing. I'll tell you. For AICT, it is still same. Any further queries, please? I think it will be more clear if you put questions. All 50 people are there. If you put one question, all I think this NEP will be cleared. So it's a question answer session for you all. Not one-way communication.
Dear participants, this is really a great opportunity to interact with the sir. So please don't miss a chance. Please ask whatever you want because this will be our future now. So. And really we get a great opportunity today to interact with the sir because this will affect and this particular session will play a very significant role in our upcoming future as a lecturer and professor and all the academicians. So please grab this opportunity and ask the questions if you are having any.
I have taken up the major salient features of NEP. In fact, there are many other features, in fact, which I have not touched upon, though it is available in the PPT. So I can share the PPT with the organizer, with coordinator, and they can share the PPT in turn to you. But if you have any kind of you want to have a discussion, the most welcome, because NEP is going to be a reality very soon, and we all has to be part of that. If we understand well, we'll be able to function well. That is there.
So may I ask one question, sir?
Please. Yeah, please.
Sir, can you please enlighten on diploma programs, sir? Means diploma program and then 4-year degree program in the computer and any engineering programs, diploma engineering programs. Sir. What will be the changes in diploma engineering programs, sir?
See, once the flexibility is in place, even diploma students will be able to enjoy that flexibility. What kind of flexibility? Flexibility of subjects, flexibility of duration, flexibility of institutions. So this kind of flexibility will be enjoyed by students. So it will not be like if it is a diploma in mechanical, so only mechanical will be taught. They will have some freedom to choose some subjects of their own choice. So that will be there. Diploma will remain diploma there, but it will become a multidisciplinary kind of things. And for sake not only diploma, all educational program will be a multidisciplinary. Because I tell you, there may be some students, those who wants only that kind of education, which is, I mean, kind of compartment. If it is a mechanical, they want to study mechanical. But there are many students, maybe more number, are even the entire students in entire segment. In fact, they want to study the multidisciplinary. They want to practice their hobby. Suppose someone is good in dance, why not? The students should practice dance, and that kit of the dance should be added in their programs. So even dance may be part of the diploma in future. It's like kind of today we cannot thought of, in fact, but of course it is going to be a reality soon. Someone is good in design, or someone is good in drawing and art. That their art and design may also be part of that diploma. In one forum, someone was quoting one example that in US, in one university, one student came and he told that he wants to study engineering, especially the sound kind of. I mean, he wanted to study not sound engineering. There's some different words, in fact, word for that. So, but he was a musician. So he told that I'm practicing that one, and I play a lot of instruments. And in that instruments, a lot of engineering is involved in that. So you like to study acoustics engineering, in fact. So he understand well. He practice that music better. So that kind of things are there. In fact, now people have started thinking in that way.
Yeah, sir. By allowing students to have multiple subjects from multiple disciplines, don't you think that ultimately we are going to create, jack of all and master of none? Because being a mechanical engineer, he should know everything about mechanical. He should be expert in mechanical, right? Dance should be hobby. It can be, done without even in credits.
See, student studying only one subject cannot handle today's devices. In fact, as already given one example, one has to study the allied subjects too. And allied subjects are what? I'll tell you. Artificial intelligence is one of the subject which is allied subject for all the fields, even for the civil, even for the mechanical, even for the liberal arts too. Now, if I talk about the data analysis, if I talk about the data sciences, this is again the kind of subject which more seems to be computer, but it's not that. It's a light subject for all the subjects, all discipline, in fact. So even if I talk about the psychology, in fact, psychology, every manufacturer has to understand the psychology of the customer. So one engineer need to understand the psychology of the customer. Otherwise, what will happen that, one vehicle which was produced by Tata, and we were thinking that it will be across the country, but after manufacturing, no one purchased that. Do you know that? Can you name anyone? Can anyone name that particular vehicle which was not actually? Still, it is in the on road, but people are not purchasing that. Very small vehicle.
Like Nano?
Yeah. So I mean, one need to understand the psychology. It's not only engineering, what we thought of before the plant when it was in West Bengal. We were thinking that a lot of nano will be there on the road, and road will be flooded with the nano. There will be congestion in the road because of the nano only. But what happened after production? People are not purchasing. So no one thought of before that. Perhaps this should have been evaluated psychologically, what the customer psychology is. So education can never be, I mean, if someone has to survive, I'll tell you, except in teaching, whatever you are studying, you are teaching that one. Other than teaching, I'll tell you, there are so many people, those who are working, whatever they have studied, they're not working that. They're not practicing that. They're practicing something different, which they have not studied at all. That is what the scenario is. And you might be having example, I understand. I know it.
And sir, those who want to continue with the core subject, I mean, orthodox way, the conventional way, they can continue with that also, right, sir?
That freedom will be there. That freedom will be there. One can go with that those core subjects. There will be, as I mentioned, that some percentage has to be core, and that is the major percentage, maybe 60-70%. That is the core subjects. The flexibility will not be there for 100% subjects. There will be some certain percentage, and maybe revised in due course depending on the experience of the country. In fact, maybe initially 30-40%. Later on, maybe increase or decrease. So this kind of scenario will be there, and we all will be the part of that. See, still I'll tell you, if you take an example of Sachin Tendulkar, what is his educational study and educational credentials, and then sports. He's master in sports, master in cricket, right? So, but in case NEP had been before his school education, he could have got the credit of this cricket. He could have easily got higher secondary and graduation degree with that expertise. So this kind of things are not thought of. There are many sports personnel, those who are not able to clear higher secondary and graduation, in fact, because they are much involved in sports. And that's a reality. So why not this sports credit should be added in their educational credit, and they should be given that credit. Yeah, any more discussion?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I would like to question that if there will be any prerequisite for taking any other subject. So for example, sir, if student is going for Android development, but he doesn't know the prerequisite like basic programming or something, then it is required that first of all, the student acquire the basic knowledge, fundamental core concept, and then come back to this course or something like that.
That has to be. That has to be. The requirement has to be like the student should understand the subject. That has to be the basic philosophy behind that. So at least one should be able to understand that subject. If someone is not able to understand the subject, some bridge course may be given. That is also advocated now. Someone wants to do, suppose graduation in technical, I mean maybe BTech, and someone has studied art. So whatever bridge course, see, this is the extreme I'm giving example, may not be possible even. Someone has studied art up to higher secondary and wants to go for the medical education. So this is the extreme example. May not be able to understand what the medical education is. So one possibility may be there, give the bridge course, let him clear the bridge course, and then enter into that. Or some kind of like some courses have been studied in that higher secondary itself, maybe art, maybe BA, I mean 12th in higher secondary in art, but some subjects, maybe mathematics, physics, chemistry, or relevant, maybe biology or biochemistry. So this kind of some subjects, relevant subjects might have studied, or maybe extra subjects might have studied, and then maybe given to those courses. So yeah, of course, the basic philosophy, as I mentioned, that one should be able to understand before taking the course. The bridge course is also advocated, in fact, through NEP.
Sir, even though currently most of the students are studying the core subjects, but still after completion of their either a diploma or degree, they are being unemployable. So don't you think that after this NEP 2020, like they are learning diverse number of subjects, so this issue of employability would increase even?
It will depend the situation later on. There's a possibility that employment opportunity may increase for the students, because someone studying, suppose computer science, and same time someone studies something, suppose allied subject, suppose drawing. So he'll be able to integrate both the knowledge. No, he can develop some software in those areas, and still those softwares are there. Those who are not able to understand drawing better, they will not be able to develop the software for that drawing, in fact. So of course there is a possibility that employability may enhance, and this is being thought of to enhance the employability, in fact. A student has to choose very wisely and depending on their future job profile, their dream job, they have to choose the subjects and learn accordingly. So either some more discussion with you, or we can stop here if there are no more discussion.
Okay, sir, we may conclude the session. Thank you very much, sir. We are really very thankful to you because you agreed and shared your expertise from very busy schedule. Thank you very much, sir. And in Atal Polsa also, we have conducted a couple of FDPs before. You always been a very much source of guide for us. You guided us thoroughly and very quickly whenever we required your help. And we are really very much impressed with your work dedication, sir. And let me share one thing with the participants. Atal portal you have seen earlier while you being a participant. That Atal portal developed by sir, and that is very smooth yet very effective for conducting FDPs as a coordinating or as a participant. So we are really grateful for all this thing to sir. Thank you very much, sir, once again. And that is the conclusion of this session, participants. Thank you very much, sir, once again.
So thank you,
Thank you,
in
sir.
fact, and thanks to all the participants. Heard
Thank
me
you, sir.
very silently. They heard me. So thank you all. Thank you, organizer, and thank you to the institution, in fact. So with this note, I'll just quit here. Thank you all.